Alright folks, my name is Freyn and welcome to the new and improved Chi 2. Well, I think it's a bit improved. I was never a massive fan of this tank in either of its previous iterations. Originally it had a 3-shot clip or drum followed by a 30-second reload, and it was eventually upgraded to a 2-shot drum with a roughly 15-second reload, I believe. That's the time that I've done a video on it before. And I didn't really get on very well with it. I never really found the 2 shots to be quite that useful. But it is a little more usable now. It's been changed so that it's now sort of I think it's basically a tray which you can drop shells into in the middle of a reload. So obviously shells can only be loaded as fast as a loader can do it, but that means you can have 3 queued up for a very quick fire if needed. And as a result, it starts off with a reload of, I think it's just under 4 seconds. And then after, I'm pretty sure it's 3, but after 3 shots, you go into a slightly longer reload, but still much quicker than before. Now if you pause in between firing off your 3 shells, and you pause for long enough, once your breach is reloaded with a new round, it will start to use the ready rack system that you get on the current tier 5 and tier 6s. So sort of refilling the rack that the gun is feeding from. And that's what that little symbol that pops up at the bottom of the screen is. Now, I haven't necessarily found... that was a really odd shot, sort of through the side of his turret and then into his engine deck. I've no idea. But to continue my thought that I interrupted myself on, I've not really found that I ever get to use that reload speed to its fullest potential. I wasn't really a fan of this tank when I played it before. Mostly because I find that it's just not got the mobility to really get into a place where you can let loose shells really quick. There's only usually going to be 2 situations where you can make use of that reload to its fullest potential. One is when you've hit an opponent and they haven't died and you want to very quickly follow it up. And the other is when you've got multiple targets in front of you. So, for the first of those 2 situations, this is a good example. There's an M18 there, I shoot into him, I take out his gunner, and he starts to back away. But I managed to get a second shot into him before he went around the corner. Now of course that was possible with the old loading system, but with a regular tank it wouldn't be, because you've got about a 7 to 8 second reload. He would have made it away. There are other situations, of course, that having a quick reload can help you when engaging a single tank. And this is another one here. Again, an M18, he's camping our spawn. So I've come back to try and hunt him down. I don't really like the idea of someone sitting up there taking people out, but there's a marker on the map for him, so see if I can work out where he is. That looks like a bit of a tank there. Yep, so I get his engine, but not his gunner. However, before he can rotate the turret, I've finished him off. Now of course it's going to be limited use when the enemy is already looking at you. If you get their gunner, then it wouldn't really matter what reload you've got, as long as it's sort of 9-10 seconds or under. That's faster than the crew can swap. And if you don't get their gun in the first shot, then they're simply likely to kill you before even a 4-second reload can function. Now, for the second situation of multiple targets in front of you who aren't looking your way, this would have been a good example if our IL-2 hadn't decided to throw a load of bombs there, because there was another tank in the background. I just seen him climb up the hill. Neither of those 2 had seen me, and I could have just popped out and taken them both down. Unfortunately, the smoke from the IL-2 rather obscured him. We've got a bit here as well with an M16 right in front of me, so that's 1 shot. Quick reload, finish him off. And then there's a Sherman Jumbo just down the hill. Now with the old loading system that would have been 2 shots for the M16, and right now I'll be sat in the middle of a 15-second reload, which might have been short enough, but instead with the new system I'm already reloaded, and I've also managed to reload part of my sort of tray, my drum, whatever, in between those shots as well, meaning I'm ready to follow up again with another quick shell if needed, which I certainly couldn't have done with the old system. So it is definitely, unquestionably, an improvement. Most of the time with the old system I found myself firing a shot, killing a tank, and then just simply sitting there and having to unload the last shell into the ground so that I could start the longer reload. But I don't have to do that anymore. So we're going to move on from this game, which was mostly just trying to illustrate a few points, and we'll go to some actual battles. I mean, battles with commentary, but you know what I mean. So first off, this is Tunisia, and it's a game with a few ups and downs in it. There's some quite entertaining moments I felt while I was playing, and there's a few frustrating moments, but I am fully up-tiered, actually slightly over fully up-tiered, as I'm bringing this in a 5.3 lineup to give me some more backup options. And so I'm fighting against a few 6.3 vehicles in there. Oh, I don't think I run into any myself. We've got a Tiger pushing down towards C, and so I'm trying to move up in support of him. I'll just keep my eye over there. I want to go around the side if I can instead of head on. But there's a T-34-57. Now no one else seems to have noticed him. We'll try and ping him. A bit off actually, I completely pinged the wrong rock there. And I'm hoping maybe I can get a shot on him. Now, normally, as on the Normandy game, I would say it doesn't matter if I don't get him in the first one, because I can follow it up straight away. But there is very limited amount of tank visible there. And I can hear an engine on my left, so I don't want to move any further forwards. Bit worried about the Panther as well. He's got his side exposed if anything comes around this corner. So I'm just going to sit here, and unfortunately there's a tank behind me as well, so I'm not sure where they're going to come to first. Turns out it's behind with a 76mm Sherman there, so I turn, start to go for him, but by the time I can get the gun round there's only his turret visible, and then this guy pops out. Now I think he just saw me in time there. I managed to back up. He missed his shot. He's got no loader though, which means it's going to take him a while to shoot back. Although none of my follow-up shots were actually killing, so that still could have gone very badly. But he is down, and now there's this 76 Sherman to deal with as well. Much better luck with that one. So found that to be quite a funny little moment, having tanks push out sort of perfectly wrong timing. Just as I look one direction, a tank appears on the other, but neither seemed to notice me. So it all worked out okay. But now we see that despite how good I can occasionally be at long range spotting, I'm quite abysmal at short range on occasions. Again, keeping my eyes over to the A and B point. And we're going to move up and try and push around now that we've got the C point. And briefly there, I don't know if you saw it, but there was something in my binoculars. It turns out there's an M18 right next to me. But because I'm driving around in binoculars, I didn't notice him. So, a bit embarrassing, but I'm back in a backup Chiri for this one. And just going to go back and try and defend the C point again. There's an IS-1 just over the river. So there we go. I really do love the penetration and filler on this gun. It doesn't always one-shot, but it is a great gun. I'm dropping artillery because I can see something on that corner. Turns out it's a Sherman Jumbo. And I'll try and move up and see if I can get an angle to kill him because he's shooting down at our Tiger 2P. Not that he's likely to kill it. Fortunately, I don't have to either because my artillery took care of him. I'm not a huge fan of artillery as a game mechanic, even when it does stuff like that, because you know that as many times as you kill someone else with it, you're probably going to die to it as well, and it's not really fair on the person who receives it because it's just complete RNG. But pushing forwards, back down towards the river, the Tiger P's on fire and I'm a bit concerned. Just double check my side before I go in, make sure that M18's not still there. There's the Centurion 1 who just took out the Tiger. So pop a shell through the side of his turret. And that's him down, and he didn't manage to get the C point, so I can go on and recap it for even more spawn points if I need them. I'm not one who goes to caps very often. I tend to find it makes me a bit of a magnet for getting either killed by artillery, killed by bombs, or just generally drawing a lot of attention to myself. But we're low on numbers. I want to make sure these tickets go down as fast as possible. So it's quick on. It was already sort of half under our control anyway. I can get it back quickly. And now push straight off and head towards these traces I can see. The armor on this isn't spectacular, so there is some danger from AA, but not if they're firing at the sky. Which is what this AMX-13 DCA is doing. So that's him down. I'm pretty sure there was a second up there. So throw a bit of artillery, maybe see if I can tag it. Sometimes I do wish you could make the artillery go over a wider area. Less accurate, but for spotting purposes more useful. I'm just going to sit, guard the C point. Keep an eye out over there, make sure nothing's coming back from the spawn. So, skip ahead for a little bit, nothing's really turned up. Until this little BTR starts spraying me in the front. There was a Sherman Firefly just poking over the ridge there that I hadn't noticed. Thankfully, I got covered by a teammate. So, I did think maybe this BTR is trying to lure me out, maybe he's got a friend with him. Maybe that's what the Sherman Firefly was trying to do, but instead, we'll get rid of him. He's irritating. And this is probably one of the features I use the least on the Cheery 2 here. You actually have a whole 37mm, which even fires APHE. So it can cause damage to lighter targets like that. I've killed the odd M18 with it here and there. Mostly gets used on anti-aircraft guns, but I don't really fire it very often simply because it only points forwards. You know, you're not going to get it onto the target very often. Not like the M6A1's coaxial 37, which is far more useful. At least in my opinion. This does of course have the advantage that you could point it in two separate directions, but you're not going to do that very often. Still, I can see a plane headed for me, so I decided I'm going to turn and go down the hill, try and get a bit of speed up. Doesn't matter, he had no intention of pulling up there. So we'll go on to another game. This is Kursk, and the absolutely abysmal layout of battle. I really like battle mode because it prevents people from cap rushing into an aircraft, but yes, battle on this is not well laid out. You basically have to split your team into two, and there's virtually no interaction between them. So starting out with a bit of sniping, they've got a lot of players running down the hill. Not my most accurate shots they've ever made. There's a lot of fast targets driving down there, but you can see the sheer just shell output of this thing now. Even when it comes to the longer reload, once your hidden clip of 3 is empty, it's still a really fast reload. And compare this to what used to be, I think it was 2 shots in about 4 seconds, and then a 14-15 second reload for the next clip. That is a phenomenal difference in shell output. Finally hit something, or at least made it enough of a hit to allow me to kill it. But I'm hitting the front of an M4A3 chassis at an extreme angle and extreme range, so not getting through there. A little bit of adjustment, and finally 14 shells down and I have a kill. I love sniping, most of you know this, and so I feel quite ashamed at how long it took me for that. But there's a lot more targets down that hill. I'm pretty sure there was at least 4 I saw running down there and didn't manage to kill, so I'm gonna move down the slope a bit up to the next set of ridges and see if I can spot any to pick them off. So I have my first target, and it's a Comet. Let's get one to the side of his turret, follow it up very quickly, finish him off. Now let's start trying to find the next unsuspecting victim. We do have a Tiger E sitting on the cap who's on repair, and he was shooting out towards this forest, so I know there's something else here. There it is. Just get this tree out the way, line up, and straight through the front. That's an M18 down, and as far as I'm aware there's 2 more players left on this side of the map. Something just tried to shoot at me. Not really sure where from, so I'm going to tuck in and try and hide as much of my tank as I can behind this ridge. I can see a little target down on the edge of the water. Bit underranged, but we'll mark him up. I'm rapidly running out of allies on this side of the map. I can see at least 2 more tanks that I've got to deal with. But there are bigger problems. Mainly that one. There's a Comet right in front of me. He's got my gunner, got my commander, and I don't really have anything nearby. Thankfully, with it being in sort of auto-loading system, it didn't matter that he killed my crew. The gun was reloaded long before my gunner came back, and I managed to quickly follow up killing that Comet with killing an Iron Duke down at the waterline as well. So there's still an Avenger and there's still an M18, so I see the Avenger there. We'll take him out first. Even with only 2 crew members, with this being an auto-loading system, it is very quick. You can see though that the loading a shell when the clip is empty is longer now that the load is dead. So it can't maintain the exact same fire rate, but it's certainly faster. Now M4A1 down, and there's an M18 also on the cap. And I'm starting to get a bit low in ammunition. Double check there's no one else coming up, and let's take some guess shots for this M18. So that'll do. I can work from that. He's not going to move anywhere, and I know he's off just to the right of where I previously shot, so transmission, and let's try and finish him off. So that's the cap safe, but I'm down to 6 shells, and given what my shooting was like at the start of this game, 6 is probably not going to be enough. So I've got to go down, I've got to retake the cap, and then I've got to sit and get a few shells back for a while. Alright, so some time later, I've managed to retake the cap, I've managed to get some ammo back. I settled for 20 in the end, I figured that should be enough to see me through. We're a bit low on players, and the enemy team is, well, not. But 20 should be alright. Well, there's an M16 headed down the hill there. Don't quite know the range, and although I have just gained some more ammo, I really don't want to be throwing too much of it away already. So I'm going to turn around, head back down the hill, and I'll intercept him down there. Just keep an eye on him as I go. Now, I mentioned before that I consider this this layout to be rather abysmal, and one of the reasons is I feel like it just turns into a cap race. Typically, you'll get both teams will just head for the enemy's cap, and then you end up with just who can cap the fastest, and there's virtually no interaction. If you look at the Finland version of battle especially, that's often over in about 5 minutes because there's just no combat occurs. And for that reason I tend to always go for the defense. Partly because it allows me to actually get some fighting, but also if I can hold that cap for just a bit longer, then it gives us an actual chance of winning. But this M16 has unfortunately made it onto the cap. So I'm going to have to go down, and I'm going to have to go kill him and retake it. It's not the biggest problem in the world, but I'd rather stay up the hill where I've got some more vision. So down we go. There he is. Sorry, it was M13, not an M16. But back on, let's retake this again. So I've got the cap back. We're slowly starting to push towards their point again, and thankfully the teams are now actually starting to even out. So I've come over a bit further upfield this time when climbing the hill. For pretty much this reason here, it's just to catch people a bit earlier than they get to the cap if they're going that way. Or in this case, get some nice side shots on anyone going to try and defend their cap. So there's a Sherman Firefly ahead of me. He's not seeing me, and he's driving pretty much side on across this ridge. So I've just got to drive up, wait until there's enough of him visible that I've got time to stop and wait for the gun to stabilise, and then take him down. That's kill number 10, and this is a pretty decent spot. I'm in a little bit of a trench, so I'm not completely visible, but I've got some cover at least. I did consider pushing sort of out and try and see if I could shoot at things that were on the A cap, but doing so would put me into the town where the only real cover is wooden houses that can be shot through, and if someone comes back from their spawn and sees a cloud of smoke appearing from behind a house, they're going to put 2 and 2 together, they're going to shoot it, and I'm going to die. So I've got a bit of decision making here, and I couldn't really decide what to do with it. But someone came to my rescue and started capping B, so I don't have to make that decision anymore. And I'm just going to go roll back down and defend again. As I said before, I prefer playing the defense on these types of maps. Most of my team in this game has died due to trying to push the A cap. They're pushing across an open field and they're just getting picked off. Had I not come this side, then this would have been capped a long time ago. You can't play back and forth between the two caps. It's not like anyone at A could suddenly divert and come to defend B. They've got to climb a hill and then come down the hill again on the other side before they can actually fire into it, and at that point it's too late. So if I'm stuck between do I defend or do I attack, I can't do both, I'm always going to choose defense every time. There he is, it's yet another American AA. So, black is ammo, he's not shooting any planes down anymore. And let's just get in there and finish him off. I've had enough of driving up and down this hill at this point, and I'm sure you have too. Now, unlike the Tunisia game, I don't have 37mm here. My hull gunner has been knocked out, even if the gun's still intact, so I'm just going to have to do everything with the 75. There he is. I don't even have a machine gun on this, which makes this take a little longer than it should really for an AA. And he's still not dead. Single toughest target I've met all day, but there we are. Actually finished off by his own artillery, but I get the credit for the kill because I've caused him some significant damage first. So we're about even on players, but we're finally capping theirs. I've got ours defended. And that's pretty much game over. Thankfully, defending 3 times was enough in the end. I didn't have to do it a 4th. This video has already gotten much longer than I initially intended, thanks to this last game being such a long, drawn-out, constant back and forth up that hill. But there we go. It's over. 11 kills, 3 caps. And success. Now, I've enjoyed the Cheery a lot more than I did in the previous times I've played it, thanks to these changes. Still not really a favourite. I don't like the lower mobility or the sheer size of the thing considering how little armour it's got. But it's definitely an improvement. So I'm going to leave it there before it gets too much longer. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.